So hello everyone, it's Toby from Toby's Urban Sketch, and today we're going to talk about a sketchbook sketching, and we're also going to do some sketchbook sketching, funnily enough. The bit I want to talk about is just what kind of sketchbook and what kind of stuff do you need. So you've probably seen that I love my moleskin sketchbook, so this is an A5 moleskin sketchbook. You can get the moleskin sketchbooks in two types. This one is their art series. Smooth paper, slightly lighter weight, slightly more pages I think per sketchbook and slightly cheaper. This one, identical from the outside, is a watercolour sketchbook, and you can see it's got textured paper, so it's slightly like a light cold pressed paper. Why do I like A5 and portrait? I think it just suits my style better, these big skies, making sort of textures with watercolour. You can do all sorts with it. Sometimes I turn it around and do landscapes, but I think for me portrait is just a bit different, and if we want a bigger landscape we can do it across 2 pages as well. Why moleskin? I just found value for money, number of sheets, the quality of the paper is the best and suits me the best, but there are lots of other types, so you've probably seen these on my channel at times. This September 2021, this is a khadi paper, so very rough handmade paper, square, really fun for lots of different things. Then you've got sort of other ones which are square but using normal watercolour paper. This one I think is by, I think they're called Handmade Journals. You can get sketchbooks which concertina out. So this was a holiday in the Scilly Isles where I just filled up a concertina sketchbook with some interesting sketches. This one's actually very nice paper. I can't remember the brand, but it was rather an expensive purchase, very much a holiday treat. But you get the idea, there's loads of different types. And then we're going to be sketching in this one, the watercolour, the not watercolour, the normal art moleskin sketchbook, because that's the one I've got at the moment. It's what I've just started at the beginning of this month. What do you need for your watercolour sketching? Well, I would advise a couple of clips, just cheap clips. These I got from Asda, I think, sort of 10 for £1. Why do you need them? Because sketchbooks will flop open and do their own thing, but if we just have a couple of clips, suddenly they can hold themselves down. And yeah, this might stand up a bit, but if you wanted you could clip it down to the table. I don't mind having it move as long as the paper's not freely moving. And then I carry around, I've got fountain pens. This happens to be a Lamy All-Star, very like a Lamy Safari, just with a metal body. And a couple of water brushes. So these are brushes which you can see got a water reservoir inside. This one's by Pentel. You can get it, I've got it linked on my website. Pentel water brush. You can get a selection of different sizes. This one, I don't know what the brand is. I bought it while I was on holiday because I thought it came in a set of 3 different sizes of flat brush, and they're really handy having a big flat brush like that. And of course your watercolours. But that is it. So that is my little 3 minutes on what to carry around for sketchbooking, and then I guess without further ado, let's get on and do a little sketch. So we've got this interesting reference up here, and what do I look for in a reference for a sketchbook sketch? Well, something in front of me, something which has just grabbed my attention, maybe something I want to experiment with. That's the freedom you get from, of course, sketchbooks. What I'm going to do is just go back a couple of pages, because what I want to do, I like filling it up. So I'm going to go to my next page, so I'm on top of my last sketch, and then we can have a go at sketching this scene from here. So you can see the photo itself is landscape. Well, as I said before, that's fine because we can chop and change things, can't we? So we could sketch across 2 pages, or we could just squish things in and change the composition a little bit. And I think that's what I'm going to do today, is just change the composition a little bit. So I'm going to start with the building, which is giving us our nice perspective. And I pop that, so that's the one in the centre. And I'm going to sort of measure it up. So we've got 1 floor, 2 floors, and then the top. So these little wiggles are just both adding a bit of texture, also reminding me how high my building is. Then just come and grab the little outlines, and I'm sort of going to do the normal silly continuous line sketching that I like doing, and I think it works brilliantly in sketchbooks especially. Just gives such an interesting sort of feel to your sketches. And it's not going to be completely continuous line, but you do these restrictive exercises, these things where you're like, I can only sketch in continuous lines, and then from there you can work out, oh, you know what, I actually really like the effects, and I can use those effects at times and not have to be sort of tied down to always using them. You can see we just build up our shapes, so we've got these really strong vertical lines that we can now bring down, and we just need to watch out for the perspective as we start to build it in. And as we get here, it's very steep, isn't it? So it's really important just to not overdo the width, and we can do that by measuring if we want. So we could go, look, this is how long it is on our reference, then bring that down, measure it out, or we can just do it by eye and by feel. And I think for me, by eye and by feel is fine. And I often get it, wrong, as you could say, but it's the feel that we're after, isn't it? We're not after a perfect image. So as long as it feels good, then for me, then that's okay. And again, we just need to have a little look. How steep is this? The actual base is not that steep, is it? So there we go. And we can create that complexity. As we go back, what are we really seeing? We're seeing a series of lines, and we can just simulate what's going on by literally just introducing a series of lines. And then we can pick out windows, which are another layer of complexity. And they don't have to be super accurate. All of this is layering up suggestions of what's going on. And in places we might want to be a bit more neat or detailed or something, but we might not. As I come round, I am going to be a little more neat and suggest these big doorways which are on a slope, and I think we've got windows here with nice little overhanging balconies, so let's get those in. And there's not much going on in the intervening bit, but we can create some interest by being a bit cheeky and joining things up, doing our little continuous line effects. And this is where I say, I don't have to do everything as continuous line, but I do like the effect. Certainly elements of it. Forces you to simplify, forces you to pick out interesting elements, forces you to be a bit imaginative with how you're building your sketch up. And then let's just go off the edge here. So we've got these kind of buildings which are just behind, and we got our man and his bike, so we can use him as just a neat way to sort of finish off the edge of our image. Remember, bikes are just simple shapes as well. They're a sort of a triangle with two circles on the end. I've got a video coming up actually about drawing bikes, because I sort of find them a bit challenging myself if I don't just remember to break them down. And then I started finding lots of scenes with bikes in, so I thought it'd be a good idea to just work out how I do them and put it in writing and in a video. And here we go, so we're on to the last sort of building, and we don't need to fill out a lot of this. This is kind of framing the rest of our scene. We can move one of these aerials along. I like those aerials. I think they'll add a bit of interest, something to look at. And then we can add the curb. And then I think we've basically got our sketch done. Very busy. There's quite a good density of line work going on here. There's enough detail that we understand what's going on, but also enough, I think, left to the imagination. We can always add a bit more ink when we finish the colours if we want. Now I'm going to sketch, I think, mostly today with this water brush, and the advantage of water brush is you can literally just squeeze out some water, and if we're trying to create lovely textures, having a wet on wet style is one very nice way, at least I enjoy it, of doing that. So we've got a nice pool of water, and we've got this idea of water which is going to link our whole image together. It's a bit of a evening scene, isn't it? So we can start off with a bright blue. This is a phthalo blue. We can let that kind of merge, mingle, move around. but we soon want to neutralise that down. So I'm going to add some quinacridone magenta just to provide a different tone, and it also starts to make a little bit of sense when we look at the brick colour, just a warmth instead of just this sort of blue tone. And maybe even if we come down, I'm going to add a little bit of, keep changing my mind, I'm going to go actually with Moonglow just to start getting some more shadows and to get this murky feel along this road as well. I think we need a bit more water. And you'll notice because it's a sketchbook, it's not a watercolour sketchbook, but it acts like hot press paper really. So what we're getting is a lot of movement, a lot of sort of flow of these colours around. We have to be a bit careful to keep the page wet, but as long as we are a bit careful to do that, we'll find that we get different textures to cold press paper and a lot of flow, a lot of movement of colour, because the page is kind of slippy and slidey. I'm going to bring out these lovely orange tones which are coming out in the sky. They'll start to neutralise with that blue as well, so we'll get a sort of, hopefully, an interesting feel to the sky. We can drop that in a few places as well. Perhaps find these little lights, for example, in the front of the building and suggest a bit of brightness there. Perhaps just add some splashes and see how that impacts our image. Could be a bit of fun here to bring out our chap, an Uber delivery, isn't it? So let's just use a bit of specific colour just to bring him out. And we can do the same in doorways. We can just decide to give a few areas a sort of really specific blob of colour, even if it's not realistic colour. Oh, I was aiming for indigo there. Just having something bold that we can be drawn to in the image can be quite a nice touch. These nice bold reds and things also work really well at the tops, just highlighting chimneys and the like. And then we can come in with a bit more of our blue. I think just we can keep lifting areas, and as long as things are still moving, we'll find that actually lifting and moving and plopping down dark colours is rather effective, rather interesting. I want to just get a bit more flow down this page. So I've now just picked up my page. It's got a sort of already on about a 15-degree tilt on my drawing board, but now I can just lift it up and give it even more of a tilt. A bit more splashing just to get some more randomness, promote some happy accidents, as the great Bob Ross would say. We can move some of these splashes around if we want them to be a bit looser. I'm going to create a nice grey here just by mixing my orange and blue together and keep that feel going in this sky. Just make it bright and interesting. Lift some of this colour up so we can add it. I'm getting towards really being done. You can overwork things. Even when you're being very loose and abstract, you can still get to the point where you've overworked things. So it can be good just to sort of step back for a bit, and I think that's what I need to do very soon. What I'm just trying to do is add a little bit of shadow in a couple of places to pull apart the different sort of layers of this building. And I think at that point, I'll probably say our colours are done. We've got a very vivid, interesting sketch, a lot of continuous line work, a lot of varying of the colours. I'm going to pop my initials on it and let it dry. And that brings us to the end of this fun and loose sketch. So this is my sketchbooking style. This is what I think I most enjoy doing, these loose, interesting line work, bringing in fun colours. So if you enjoy it, please do leave a comment, like, subscribe, and thanks for being here.